I started playing VR in 2020 where I became instantly enthralled in the experiences that were offered to me. Although I started out with the likes of Boneworks, which made me quickly realize that not all VR games take intensity of motion into consideration, it still did not deter me from continuing to play VR even after I became motion sick. As someone who has never been motion sick before, I was in fact worried that I was not going to be able to enjoy VR. But VR was just so immersive that I felt the need to continue to play and overcome my motion sickness. And after I did, I completed Boneworks and moved on to the defining game of the genre of VR, Half-Life Alyx. And when playing Half-Life Alyx, I felt like I was teleported into that game's world. And since I have never been more immersed in a VR experience, I felt like it was something that I could only feel in a very vivid dream. Something that if I lived in this world, it would feel real. Half-Life Alyx is the height of what VR as a medium does have to offer, because it follows the medium's most important rules. And those rules are quite simple. But without them, I don't think VR would be as popular as it is today. Without those rules, VR, to me, shouldn't exist. And those simple rules are what make VR more than just a regular flat screen gaming experience. Now, recently it seems that some rules VR veterans see as the minimum are being neglected and thrown by the wayside. It's like we have forgotten that VR is supposed to be about the immersion you feel in the world you are playing a role in. That if you were a person living there, these are things that you would be doing. And doors are a great example of a mechanic that is constantly being neglected within VR to such a detriment that it can become an immersion-breaking interaction. Now, there are a few ways that you can make it so that your door seems believable. You can either have a handle that lets you turn it and then open the door. You can offer just a door push with the player's hands. You can even offer a button on the side of the door for your players to push in. And if you don't want to implement any of those, why not just make the door have a proximity box for your player to step in, which will then open that door? Why not? No harm, no foul, doesn't break my immersion. And the reason that none of these mechanics that I've just spoken about break my immersion is because it's something that I have experienced in my day-to-day life. I have done all of those things. But you know what I haven't done? I have not pressed a button and had ghost hands come out of my arms and open a door for me. That is immersion breaking. And if you are going to have something like that in the game where it's a button press, at that point, I would encourage you to have a VR support and not VR only. So that whenever you come and you sell that game, you will be able to have flat and VR play it, because button pressing for interactions doesn't belong in a VR only game. Weapons are another big part of VR immersion that just have to work right, otherwise that immersion is broken. Manual reloading is something that you expect in a VR shooter, and when it is not there, it does not feel right. I think that accessibility is something that is very important in all of gaming, including VR. It's something that I dedicate an entire section in every review that I write so that people that need accessibility options know what kind of options are available in the experience they are looking for. But when you hide the manual reload mechanics behind the guise of it being non-competitive due to the fact that some players may not be as good as others, isn't that necessarily saying that you don't want your game to be competitive? Manual reload offers faster reloading, which again is something that can be improved upon. It also offers muscle memory. It offers something that adds to the skill ceiling of your game and actually adds more competition to your game, a wider variety of players, if you will. And if you think that we don't currently have any competitive VR shooters that offer manual reloading, I would say that you've probably never actually played VR and you are probably new to the scene, because we have at least 4 minimum. We have Onward, we have Pavlov, we have Contractors, and we have Veil, which was specifically designed by the developers to be a well-balanced competitive shooter. There's no reason for it to be in VR if I'm going to have to press a button to reload. I might as well just go play Call of Duty for the competition that offers. So again, if you're going to have weapons in your game, they need to work like weapons. No one is making a VR game where I have to press a button to swing my sword. It's just not a realistic expectation and shows a lack of understanding of what the medium is and what people as a whole within that medium expect from a VR experience. Now, the last, if not maybe the most important rule of VR is the level of interaction that you offer your player. The level of interaction refers to how much in the world around me that I can physically interact with. Now, I'm going to refer to Half-Life Alyx, but I don't want anybody to think that that is going to be the standard that we expect as VR gamers. I think it is the height that we have seen and is definitely the peak of the level of interaction rule. However, I don't think it is doable from most devs as of now and should not be used in place of a standard single-player PC VR game for the time being. However, I think a standard that we should see is something like Into the Radius. It's definitely a good example of a game that has very, very believable interaction. Although you don't actually grab any doors, you still physically reload, and you're able to interact with the world around you. If you see something on a table, more than likely, you can pick that piece of whatever it is, whether that be a picture frame, a bottle, a candy bar. You can pick that up and throw it. That bottle might not break, but that's still believable. Now, there are bigger things in Into the Radius, like barrels or chairs that I can't pick up that maybe I could in Half-Life Alyx. But I don't need to be able to grab those things. To me, it feels like that would be an exertion on my body in real life. And it's hard to really make those things feel real. So for me, as long as you have the small things like glass bottles, lamps, cups, trays, food, stuff like that, that is interactable and I can throw it and just have a good time with the physics of those, I think that offers on a level of immersion that is believable enough that it makes your VR game a standout experience at this point in time in VR. So again, that level of interaction, even if it's just small things, if it's there, if it looks like I should be able to pick it up, you should probably make it so that your player can pick that piece of equipment up. And remember, if you're developing for VR, immersion is the #1 rule you need to focus on. All of these pillars are part of that rule. It's very important and defines the medium as a whole. If you don't have immersion, there is no reason for your game to be a VR game. That being said, my name is Butter Something. I want to thank all of you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next video.